My name is Jason Sabol, and I grew up in a haunted house. So I'm guessing you probably have questions. The first thing is, when people ask what it's like to grow up in a haunted house, I'll tell you this: it's like the beginning of a horror movie. Like, just like odd things happening, creepy but not really dangerous, not really terrifying, but like you're still just like, ooh, that's not quite right. So, for example, at my parents' house, where I grew up, uh, we had uh, we had yes. Oh, anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Anyway, at my parents' house where I grew up, uh, when I say like odd things happening but not really scary, I mean like um, you'd be home alone and you hear basketball bouncing on the floor in the basement when you're there by yourself. Doors open and shut by themselves. Sometimes they slam if they're not happy about what you're doing. Uh, you have electronics turn on and off all the time by themselves. You have windows. Windows always happen. If you left the windows open and it would start to rain and you weren't home, when you came home, the windows would be closed, which was a benefit, but still kind of creepy. But that's kind of like just the everyday unsettling type of thing that happened. What you guys really want to hear about is the man with the gold buttons and the lady in white. So my parents bought this house in the 1970s from what I would say is an eccentric couple. This couple had sealed off the second floor for some reason. So they turned their 4-bedroom, 2-story house into for a 1-bedroom, first floor apartment. Not great. But my parents got a great deal in the place, so they were like, "Yeah, this seems like a good deal. We should go with that." They go with it, and shortly thereafter, my mom starts to see a man standing between the garage and the house, who's got a dark suit on with gold buttons, standing just kind of looking in the house, and then she would like holler for my dad to come, and then like he would be gone. And for a long time, he was just kind of looking in the house, like he'd be in the yard looking in the house. Then when I was born, I also saw the guy with the dark suit and the gold buttons. And my parents, because they loved me so much as the second child, put me in the back bedroom in the house. And I'm in the back bedroom, and that is kind of like the epicenter for weird things to happen. So just for an example, I had a Pegasus mobile that hung from the ceiling, and if you pulled the string, the wings would flap. Except mine was like automatic, the wings would flap by themselves. No wind, they'd just flap. When I went to bed, every night there was a light show. Orbs just zipping across the ceiling, blue, green, yellow, whatever. This was before the Discovery Channel. We didn't know what orbs were. We were just like, oh, cool, it's a lighting effect. Nice. And then, of course, I saw the guy with the gold buttons. So the guy with the gold buttons would walk through my room and then just go to another room. And over time, other people started to see the guy with the gold buttons. So my friends saw the guy with the gold buttons. My girlfriend saw the guy with the gold buttons. My wife saw the guy with the gold buttons so many times. And a lot of times he'd just be passing through, like he's living his life on a different plane of existence from us. He doesn't see us, we don't see him, except we see him. So if you're sitting in the kitchen, you'll see him pass through the dining room. If you're looking in a mirror, you'll see him just kind of stroll past you in the background. And it's unsettling, to say the least. So I kind of knew something was weird with our house growing up, and I knew my mom knew that something was weird, and we just kind of didn't speak about it until one night. My mom spent the night sleeping in my bedroom, in the back bedroom, because my dad was snoring excessively loud and I was out of town. And my mom woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a woman in the room, and she had a white dress on and long blonde hair and these beautiful blue eyes. And she was floating above the bed. And my mom reasonably was startled couldn't move at first, and then jumped out of the bed, ran in, grabbed my dad. They come running back, and of course she's gone. Well, in an interesting little twist of serendipity, thank you, universe, my mom was a teacher, and a new teacher started at her school. And this teacher had some knowledge of our house because, lo and behold, her great-grandfather was the person who built the house that we lived in. And she had actually been there as a child because her grandmother lived there after her great-grandfather, after her dad, I guess, had passed. She lived there. And so this teacher had actually been to our house when she was a kid to visit her grandmother. And she and my mom became friends, and she came over for lunch. So it's the three of us having lunch. And she starts talking about her dad, or grandfather, great-grandfather, sorry, the guy who built the house. And sure enough, it comes out that he was a very proud firefighter. And his favorite thing to wear were his dress uniform, his dress firefighter uniform, which was navy blue with gold buttons. And he was buried in that dress uniform, navy blue and gold buttons. So at this point, my mom and I are kicking each other under the table like, oh my God, this isn't real. And then, but we don't tell her anything because we don't want her to know, like, we don't want to like make her think we know. And then, so we go on a little tour of the house just so she can see what's changed, whatever. As soon as we get to the second floor, she goes, oh yeah, I don't want to go back there. Back there's the sick room. And I went, the sick room? And she said, yeah. When we lived here, when my family lived here, that was where people went when they got sick. That's where they would be quarantined. So the rest of the family wouldn't get sick and they would still be taken care of. And we were like, oh. And she goes, yeah, there's actually a really sad story about that room. And my mom and I start to turn white. And she goes, my grandmother's sister died in that room. And my mom goes, do you know what she looked like? And she said, well, obviously I never met her, but my grandmother always described her as the most beautiful girl in town. She had long blonde hair and blue eyes. And the story's really sad because she died during the flu pandemic in 1918, the week before she was supposed to get married. And they buried her in her wedding dress.